So we will continue today. We will try to cover state and life cycle and these kind of things. Before, what about React create React app? Did you all have it on your computers, and you can use it? All of you? All of you?
Maybe you can just review.
What?
Maybe you can review again.
Yeah. So we will create a new. So just open your terminal or something.
My ATOM stopped working. I don't know why.
Okay.
So I use Sublime.
It's up to you.
But
whatever.
I prefer it.
You can even use I don't know, Notepad or something. Block note. I don't really care.
I don't know why it just stopped. I can't explain.
So go to desktop. All of you? No.
That's fine.
It's not really.
Okay.
Fine. Okay, go to desktop.
Yeah.
You can do it.
No internet.
Okay. So go to desktop, and I guess all of you have create React app. So if you do version, it should print something and not an error.
Yeah, 1.52.
It doesn't matter really,
Yeah.
but having the tool is the most important thing. All of you have the tool?
Yeah.
So you are on desktop, so you need to locate this file, because you will open it and you will start coding on it. So you need to locate this file. So in desktop, create a directory called Hack Your Future. Name it wherever you want. I will name it Hack Your. So cd Hack Your Future React, and cd into it. Here. And run create React app my app. Okay, and run it.
After we see the create again. Can you let me see that command? Okay.
You are into Hack Your Future?
Yeah, create. Okay, yeah. Folder now.
Create React app and my app. It's really important to locate the folder, so just. Create React app. Yeah, this one here. Create React app. My app. Just name it my app.
Coming up, mine is kind of slow.
Yeah, but it's running.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. That's the most important thing. What about you? Is it running?
It's running.
You? Tala? Is it running?
Yeah, it's running.
Okay.
We have to get another laptop. No, it's not
Oh.
fast enough.
You really need like good
For-
laptop for these kind of things. Yeah.
4 gig RAM.
You need minimum like 6, 8 ish.
Ah, okay.
4 is not enough for JavaScript.
It's very slow. That one's very slow. Okay.
This is good.
Hmm?
It's okay, mine is slow too.
Yeah, but I think I just need to get something better.
Yeah, definitely. If you can get like I don't know, just
Yeah.
avoid the MacBook because it's kind of expensive. If you go and buy
Yeah,
like
still-
Asus, this make what?
Mine is at top tier.
Yeah, but it's not really big.
It's running, but
Yeah, but you're using Windows, right?
Yeah, you understand.
And you just see that then you don't have this bar showing. all of
Oh
the-
yeah, we have
Ah.
custom stuff. Yeah, you see like
Okay.
the benefit of not using Windows.
You could just use PowerShell.
Yeah,
Because that would probably.
even with PowerShell, it seemed like I don't know, like blue screen. And I don't know. It's really annoying. I'm not really a good fan of Windows.
use this 8 or 16.
16. Yes. 16 is good,
Yes, yeah.
but 32 is even better.
Okay. That's 4.
You're exaggerating.
No, 32 is really fine.
But you know what? I'm still with 4.
Like, believe me, I used to like work as an Android developer, and you like run Android Studio, and it consumes a lot of fucking RAM. Like 8. Yeah, it's good to give it like 8 or 9. And also, like, if you don't have like an Android phone, or if you want to use it like using the virtual like Android, you need to give it also 3 or 2. So like 16 is not enough, believe me.
Okay, I'm just still grateful for having 4. And
Yeah,
it's
that's
working.
nice. That's nice.
And yeah, for the next decade, I'm going to use this one.
No, so I'm gonna open web store. It doesn't exist. Why? Okay. No, don't do that. Just me.
I'm just saying, for me, we do just code the point and goes to
It's up to you.
Open Visual Studio.
I'm WebStorm user, so
Oh, lots of fun.
what?
I just showing it all this.
Yeah.
Is it nice to use one?
What did you install?
Well, WebStorm. Oh, the code. This is like React code. Big stuff.
After you create my app, what kind of
What?
have you issued any command?
What do you mean?
I mean, have you?
I didn't do anything. You
Okay.
have like it's done installing stuff.
Yeah, I have LS. I just saw my app.
So open like your like or before let's do something. Just a second. Supernova desktop. So I will look at desktop. Hack your future. No. Yeah, this one. This one, and I will open it using WebStorm, and I will hide it here. So who is still like installing? Still installing? Still installing? Okay. Yeah, so you are waiting for the close. What about you?
Mine is fine.
Done?
Yeah.
Done?
Yeah.
Done?
Everything downloads everything installed.
So try to run npm.
Yeah.
Just a second before I need to do something.
Why? You need to run it here.
No, to run the project. So I will cd to the app. That's really important. Cd to the app.
I did.
So nice. cd my app. So now I'm inside the project. If you do ls, there is like a bunch of stuff. So, and I will just do something. So yeah, let's do npm start.
Do you do more visualization as well?
No, that's just me. So like, I want to see the comments and stuff.
What was the last thing you did?
npm start.
Yeah.
npm start. And go to the browser and type localhost 3000. And you should see this. Don't you? You didn't see this? There is something wrong. Is it working for you at least?
Showing an npm error, missing script stats.
Yeah, same
We
here.
lost Twitter.
Well, it shouldn't.
Did you do this npm start?
Yes, npm.
Start?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not working?
It's bringing back error, npm stat. So I don't know why.
Because,
It's working? It's working for you? Okay, nice.
Yes.
It's working for you? What about you? Maybe you canceled the installation or something? You did something wrong.
Okay.
no, I have the same error.
Okay.
You
this is-
didn't like, you should CD into the project.
Exactly. So
I
that's
see
what
into
I'm saying.
my app.
Yeah, exactly. So CD into the project.
Yeah, and it brought out.
You are inside the project?
Modules, not modules, package JSON. That was it.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that a few hours ago I had the same mistake, and I was like, okay, why? And then found out I should go into the folder. And that was a few hours ago.
And now you're doing it
And
again.
now I'm doing it again.
Okay.
Scroll up a bit. What happened when you
Maybe
did
we
the
have to
create
remove.
React?
When I
yes.
created React,
On your network,
Yeah.
does that mean that if I type all this,
Yeah.
then I
this
can
one
see
just
my
got out.
Where's
Technically, yes.
create?
Yeah,
In my app.
yeah, my app.
Yours, it's like 190 or what?
Created.
Yours is what?
Okay.
Which number is?
mine is
You maybe just remove that directly because it seems like there was one already.
192.168.56.
So I have to remove one.
So, like this, but with one here?
No. 56.
Okay, let me
Here?
look at the folder.
Yeah.
56?
But
Okay.
not 156, just
Folder
56.
here.
Like this?
And then part 1.
Folder there.
So,
Look at the main directory.
like this?
Yeah.
So
That's
that was
only
okay,
one
but
there.
there seems to be a conflict in there. So just
Maybe
That's not good.
I have to remove.
Yeah.
Address on this network, that's
Exactly, it should be like just the last one different.
are you connected to Wi-Fi?
I would just remove it.
Just
Just
remove
make a new one.
Remove,
my app.
No, you have to internet.
Yeah, there's
Go
one
to
on
Amazon.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And one touch 4.
Yeah, but
It should be like this.
What's there?
there was
Yeah.
interface.
Okay.
yes, and now you can use to
I should still be
use
able to
minus
do
R.
Hmm?
Because of
I'm saying I should still be able to
Everything?
minus R,
Okay.
go in there.
RM, space, minus R. No. This.
Should keep following you, or
What?
we should type something.
No, I didn't do anything.
I'm coming 2 seconds.
By the way, do you use Jan?
What?
Jan to how?
Yeah, I use them.
Very slow.
You
That's why.
by the end of this course, would it be possible for you to just tell us kind of a little bit about it?
Yeah,
Not today,
yeah.
by the end of this, because it's kind of something for the fixing the code, right?
I
Okay.
just control C
Yeah.
again.
And but no
Just
real
wait.
person knows about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's very important for us.
Is it working?
No, still
It's taking forever
So
just to
remove-
delete the
remove
directory.
Because like the node mode is really big.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
but still.
Yeah. There is like the planets, the universe, and node models.
I guess you don't. I guess you don't have an SSD. I'm not used to that anyway.
Exactly, yeah. The SSD life. So I guess we can continue. Without you, unfortunately, this is life.
Okay.
No one will
So
wait.
let me just quickly create
What?
Yes.
You can probably use tab to complete
start with the right link. See. It's almost done. I'm going to get a new laptop. So at least it's big. I'm done for like.
And also having an SSD is really important now. So money,
I have space for that.
money.
I said,
An SSD like instead of HDD or something.
okay, so I'm getting a new laptop.
Okay, it's like a MacBook or
No, you mean I will get an SSD instead of getting a new laptop? Which one is preferable?
I don't know. It's up to you. I don't know. You know your computer more than me,
It's kind of slow now because
so you should show it.
it's taking forever.
Next
Yes.
question about the programming. Does C++ and C work on Mac?
Well, what
Can
I
you
sure.
do programming?
It's taking.
Yeah, like the whole like operating system is built using C++.
Yeah.
So
Is it for instance, if you want to do
generally, like all the programming languages, they run like everywhere. Generally, there's like really few exceptions, but any programming language run everywhere.
But why some programmers doesn't like Mac for C++ and
What do you mean?
I don't know. Some they say they don't recommend it for C++.
No, that's
I
not.
don't know. But just once I was reading somewhere.
Well, there is like opinions. Like I can say that Windows is not good, and other can say Mac is not good, or can say like Linux is not. So just like opinions. There's no. It's not science. It's just like giving your point of view.
It's like sometimes the default libraries. So for example, the default Python on Mac, it's kind of broken. But when you use Homebrew, if you know about that,
Mm-hmm.
you install it from Homebrew, then that's fine.
Okay.
Could be the same with C++.
Maybe, but generally, like saying it doesn't work. That's kind of a big word.
Yeah, it says because they was reading about they don't recommend to use it and use
Are you planning?
Linux or some.
Yeah, because a lot of like if you use C++, you would use like open source libraries and stuff, and you need to build them from the source.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
So because like Mac doesn't give you really like flexibility when it's come to building and stuff. So this is why a lot of like C++ users they use like Linux, because there's like Make and CMake and they work really well there. So if you want to build software and stuff, like Linux is kind of better.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like there's nothing sure about this.
Maybe you can move on because mine is still strong.
Okay, so we will move on. You can see here like, is it working for you or still with the internet problem? But you can code now. So you should. Okay, so to get started, edit the source up. So open your favorite text editor. Open this project. Go to source. Here, open index.js. So just remove this line, register service worker. Remove it from the import.
Okay, so I think you spawn now. So
And remove it from here, so we can have like clear workspace. There was like service worker here. Just remove it and remove the import and remove also the file. There was a file called service worker here.
please, if you can, maybe let me catch up now.
Okay.
So I'm in my app.
Just
Fine.
try npm start. Go into the folder,
Yeah.
the app folder, and try npm start and see if it's working or not.
Yeah.
Then you can just leave it and it goes fine.
Okay.
Okay.
That's started now.
So just remove these lines.
A little bigger.
What? I'm sorry. I just forgot about
Okay.
that.
On now. So text editor.
Yeah, that's fine.
Fine.
Maya.
Yeah.
Maya. Source.
Index.
Maya. Yeah.
Okay. Just 2 seconds, please. Let me open that.
No, not the phone.
You're not in the folder. I told you to be in the. Ah.
Have to open it. No,
Can you
have to
help
open
me?
the folder.
Just take it easy. Just relax. Don't be like kind of stressed. Just yeah, it's really fine. We will wait for you. Don't be stressed.
If you use them in a good demo,
Okay. No. Maybe you can.
those
It's
disks
on desktop.
and
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Here.
this.
Just go back. Say select folder.
Source.
Thanks.
I'm going to index. Delete the last line. Delete line 5. Yeah. And delete
I will remove this one.
which is the source.
Okay.
And then, no. That's it.
Thank you.
Is it working?
Yeah.
You can run the project and you see this. Like the thing that we saw before, not this. This one. Yeah.
Okay.
You can see this.
Yes.
Open localhost 3000. You run the project.
Fail to compile.
You could skip it one
Not to.
when it's running.
No, not to the. Or.
Is it working or not? What's happening?
No.
What's happening? Can someone help him?
Something already opened the port 3000.
Because you are already running the app.
Go back to your
Terminal.
yeah. No, not so. So yeah, this one. Okay. Now go back to your browser. Always save.
Oh.
Okay, so there was like remove these lines. Open source.
Yeah, he's done all this.
You did all this,
Yeah.
and you removed also the
Yeah.
Line 5.
folder.
Yeah.
The folder from here. The file.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, we will remove the app CSS.
Okay.
So, just a second. Just a second. Just remove the app CSS. Also, this app.test.js.
So app CSS will go from the import.
So we have like app, index, and logo here. Also remove this logo.
Logo and the
Yes.
Then you have the index CSS there.
What?
93.
Yeah, technically you should go into
Yeah, but yeah. You have this and you open up. From up, remove the logo. Just a second. Remove the logo and remove all these things. Except this. Just type here like hello or
Remove all the logo.
Hmm?
The logo SVG. Remove it.
yeah. So you will have this in app.js. Just keep everything. Just remove the fast please, because it's not really big. So you have two files, index and app.
Also remove the app.css.
No. Yeah, the app.css. Yeah.
This.
you should also delete because now you don't have CSS.
Yeah, you are. And this.
And then you go to your website.
It doesn't matter. Just write something so you can see like that you edited these things.
You know what?
Really? Change.
Welcome.
Yeah, you
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So all of you now you can like see the result and stuff. So this is for you, so you can do like your homeworks from now on using React Create app. So you can code like on like a real project kind of instead of just using like real I don't know like real time tools and like online tools. Okay. So I will do the same thing. I will create like don't follow me now. Just follow me on the screen.
Okay.
Don't go to me. Just follow me on the screen. Try to make attention to what I'm doing.
You say we should close our.
That will be even better. So I will create a file called.
That you are recording.
Yeah, I'm recording. Yeah. To-do list. Okay.
Okay.
And I will import in the app. I will import to-do list. I will do import to-do list from to-do list.js, and I will render here a to-do list. Okay. It's empty the file. If I come here, there is like element type invalid. Yeah, what's the problem? Still with the internet? Do you really need the internet? No, I don't think so. We can just do it after, maybe.
On the break.
Maybe on the break. Yeah, that's also a good idea. Just can you look it? So here, like I have an error because I'm rendering a component, and the component it's undefined. So there's no. So I need to import React from React, and I will do class React class to do list extends React component, and I have the render method. Okay, here I'm gonna this is it to do this, but I need to export it. Okay, export default. So you can just import it like this instead of this. This is like for importing what you export. So if I need like I'm exporting like as default, so I'm doing to-do list. So this will not work. because this is like not a default export. What do you mean by function? It's not a function.
The next function is including.
Yeah, curly braces. So this is like not importing default. This is like importing default stuff. If you see now it's working. Yeah.
If you go back to your design, so if you don't have to-do list, we have like 3-4 components.
Yeah.
Then it takes all of them.
What do you mean?
All of the components in this file.
Not really. Let's try. Let's gonna let's say function test.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, exactly. And const x equal, I don't know, like Eunice. We have this, and you don't do this, and you import this. So you mean that it will import all this stuff? No. This like module is private, so you export what you want the outer world to see, what the exterior world to see. So if you don't export anything, no one can import anything from the file.
Okay.
You got the idea? So this is private. You export what you want.
So I keep making export the phone to do this.
No. You can have just one export default, but many other exports. Let's say, for example, you say export default to-do list, and export test my function. No, I don't think it's the correct syntax. Yeah, you can say this. So you are exporting like other kind of, it's not really global or not global, not default. So now you can do this. You can do test. It's like inner stuff. But, and I can do the same. I can do like this. I can do this. So you can do. So importing the default and some other stuff. And you can like even do this export here. So you are exporting like a name thing and not default thing. So you have like stuff with names, but you have only one default thing. You cannot have like multiple default things, because what I mean by default, it's just like default thing. Yeah. It doesn't make sense to have 3 default things.
If we,
Yeah.
If we take this to-do list direction from the browser,
What do you mean?
this folder, to-do list,
Yeah.
JS,
Yeah.
in the browser.
You want like
But,
I want me to copy this?
No, the direction to
What do you mean by direction?
the link.
So you want to access this file inside the browser?
Yes.
You cannot do that, because the browser doesn't recognize this stuff like import and classes. Some browser do recognize classes, some browser don't, because it's really like some browser doesn't, because it's really kind of new thing. So React wait up this tool before running the stuff inside the browser. It will pack all these files and convert them to readable JavaScript, or JavaScript that can execute it like in the browser. If you can see, for example, here, this is like we have just one JavaScript file. It's here. We have just one JavaScript file.
Yes,
This is like, for example, I don't know if React preserve the names, but it's,
No.
yeah, it's running. So just a second. Yeah. So there's like to-do list webpack required, because it's using webpack, so it's requiring this thing. So there's like a lot of like stuff like happening inside. So your code is not like really executed directly. So there's like in between a step, middleware that convert your JavaScript to more readable JavaScript or executable.
If we have information about connect to the database.
This is front end. This is front end. This is not back end. This is the front end. We are not connecting to the database here. This is not Node.js. This is like the front end.
Okay.
So you can do like Ajax calls here and send them to the backend. You remember Azure?
Yes.
Right? So this is it. Mm. So yeah, so we have like here, so we can remove this stuff. You got the idea of default export, and we have we can remove this thing. So here, there is something in React called the life cycle. What's a life cycle? Like your component before like getting rendered, there's a lot of stuff happening. For example, this is like class. React will call this class. Will kind of build a new class, like instantiate like a new class. You know, like classes when you like do new, so you get like a new instance of the class. What? You remember this stuff? So React will do the same. So there is like stuff happening behind the scene, but you cannot see this stuff. But React will do that. So if you, for example, put a constructor here, and you do console.log, or even better, an alert. I don't know, like hello from constructor. Yeah, but there is something really important. Whenever you extend the class, when you have like inheritance, always remember to call the super. You remember the super?
Yeah.
Why? Because you have a class and you are inheriting some stuff from another class. So there is like another class, you are getting stuff from it.
Yeah, from React.
From React component.
Yeah.
So when you initialize this component, you also want to initialize the React component, like the parent like class, kind of.
Okay.
So that's really important to do super. So before like constructing your stuff, construct the React stuff, kind of. So if we go to the browser, hello from constructor. So before rendering anything, React will create like instances of these classes. And after that, there is some stuff happening. You can see here. So there's like, the constructor is good if you want to initialize stuff. For example, let's say you want to do like, you have like static property. You have something static in your application. Let's say, I don't know, let's say this dot alter. So instead of having like global variable, I can put this alter as a global variable here.
Mhm.
But it's better to put it as like class instance or class property.
Mhm.
So I can just refer to it here. You can see like the output. Clear? So I'm just using like a class because it's a React component, but at the same time it's just a class. It's just a JavaScript class. So we can use like always like I can use like the same things. That's the first thing. So I just need the diagram to visualize what's happening. So we are sec. Don't know if they have like good diagrams. Probably not. Not really. Not really. So this is like a good one. All of you can see this. So in the beginning, there is the start. The start, it's like React. It's like running your application. After that, you have a lot of components. React will grab, like for example, if you have like in-used component, for example, let's say we don't have like to-do list here. So this is like in-used. So React will not like do anything with this component because it's in-used, like it's dead code, kind of. So you have the to-do list here. React will see the to-do list. It will construct the to-do list, passing it the props. So here you can actually have props, and also each parameter you receive here, you need to also put it here. That's really important. Okay?
Why?
Because you receive the props from, like you pass the props to the
Like
to-do list.
inherited, yeah.
For example, let's say when you put this dot props, when you put this dot props dot I don't know, like to do list or something, like, or let's say name. Did you like write this property? Did you kind of? It's not like you didn't build this feature. You just get it for free. How? Why? Because React gave it to you.
Yeah.
So every time you pass props, you need also to pass them to super. So the React component here can get access to these props and build some helpers for you. You got the idea?
Yeah.
So you are not using props. React is using props internally. So you need to also forward the props to React. So here's the props that I received. You give them to React.
That means that the reason I'm not giving them in line 9,
Uh,
the render,
the render 9, yes,
is because this is a function from the React component.
from the React component. So I can just refer to this dot props.
Exactly. And the reason I give it on line number 4
Yeah,
is because that this is for the task.
yeah.
And that's
I'm
why
just
I
like
need to
passing
say-
like
I need to go higher because React also.
exactly. There's like some helpers inside React because you receive the props and not React component because I'm calling your class and not the React component class. But you need also to forward the props to React component so React can do stuff. So inside React, there is like inside this dot component, inside React component, this class, there is like class called class like component. There's and also after there is like React dot component equal like component kind of. There is something and there is a constructor and the constructor is waiting for you to pass the props and inside React will do that like this. This dot props dot yeah, we'll just do the pass it props kind of. So you got like a little bit like how React do that, but yeah, that's not really like something. It's really like handled by React. So it's not really something you should know. So you can have the constructor. So the constructor is the first thing that got called in a class. So if you want to really initialize stuff or you have like static code or something, just put it here. After there is the component will mount.
Can you go back to that?
Yeah.
Like we did before, like instead of props in the constructor, so it was like object, and this other dot object, it was like this. So
What do you mean? Well, I just didn't get the question.
Okay, like before we did something like constructor object, like parameters was object, okay, and there was no super props, and there was this dot name. Dot
What do you mean
object.
like before?
When we
In the
had,
Java classes, that's what
Okay.
where the yes, the making
Okay. So you didn't use like this method.
we
we
didn't
didn't
use
use
super.
so is it instead of like doing this dot other dot props?
Okay. So super in JavaScript is a keyword. It's not a function, and we use to initialize the parent class. For example, let's say you have I don't know. I don't wanna because it's like really JavaScript thing. So it will take a lot of time to do that. But let's say like let's find an
Give a
example.
Brief explanation.
I just wanna find like an example because like
But I think the guys mostly know. So when you write a class, you write its constructor as well, and we haven't done inheritance much, right? But inheritance means that you use that class to create a new class which will have the same properties. But if you want, so when you do a new of the class which you have inherited, it will run the constructor of the new class, but you can give it already a new constructor. And it will have the same properties. Now let's say you had like a car class and
Yeah.
it had wheels, etc. If you do inherit it to some kind of like 3-wheel car and then you set a new constructor. But if you want to run the constructor of the old class, then you use super. So super just refers to the class you have inherited.
Exactly.
The new
It's
class.
like the parent class. You can see here an example. There is like class called rectangle. There is a constructor with height and width. This dot name, this dot height, this dot width. There is like a bunch of methods. Say name, area. There is a class called square because rectangle it's anything. Square is really like specific rectangle. So you are calling constructor. You have like constructor inside square. It takes length because like square just have like one length. It doesn't have like width and height. And you are calling super with length and length because they are the same. So square is just like a rectangle with the same height and width. So you are calling super here, and JavaScript will call the parent constructor. So what's the parent class of this class? It's a rectangle. You go to rectangle, this is the constructor, and this is height and width. So you call this with height and width. You do this dot name rectangle, this and height as well. So you inherit all these properties for free by just calling this. So it's like construct or like building the parent class as you need, kind of. It's like customizing the parent class.
Can you go off this?
Yeah.
Um, I just trying to.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
And for example, let's say this is the constructor. Let's say you have like another method. Log number sites. For example, this is like rectangle. This is like square extend. So this is like a method called log description. And you say super.log sites. Because when you say super, you are referring to the rectangle class, the parent class, and you call this method. So you use super to get stuff, build stuff from the parent classes. That's like the utility of super. Is it kind of clear?
So the difference is that that's a static method. So
Yeah.
actually the square class does not have that method.
Yeah.
So otherwise you would have just called this log any sites, because if the square also had that method, but rectangle has it, so you can use super to access that. Right?
Yeah.
The general practice that you have to follow is that when you inherit a class, if you are writing a constructor for the inherited class, you should try and use the constructor of the previous class
Exactly.
as much as possible.
Because you are inheriting. You are inheriting.
Yeah.
If you don't need the constructor while you are inheriting from that class. Because if you inherit from a class, you need it. So you need to kind of call the constructor of that class and say, I need a new instance. Do something. Kind of. You inherit like a bunch of properties and logic and stuff. So you can inherit like static, I don't know, like helpers. Let's say like you have a bank and they have an API, they have like a lot of code. They have a class called send money or something. And you want to write like a custom API where you want to send money, but before sending money, you need to double check or something. So you inherit from the send money class, and inside your class, you check. After that, you call like super.sendMoney. So it's like inheriting functionalities and augmenting them with your logic or your code. That's basically like where we use inheritance. Okay, it's not really a big topic in React. There's just like this thing, React component inheriting, but we don't use like inheritance like all over the places. We just use it here. Is it clear? So as I said before, we have constructor taking props. You forward the props using super. There is the component will mount, which means the component will mount. Mounting means putting it inside the DOM. So the component will mount. It's like mounting, putting something. After that, there is the render. So React is saying, I'm gonna build a new component or new React element. I'm gonna notify you. I'm gonna put it inside the DOM. After that, I'm gonna run the render method so I can get what I put inside the DOM. After that, there is component did mount. So you can see there is render, and before render there is will mount, and after render there is did mount. Did mount. So, like say,
Confirming.
I will render, did rendering. You can see. After that, like your component will be running, or it will be in the DOM, and if the props changed. There is component will receive props, component should update, component will mount, component like, and it will like, this is like a little bit complex. We will cover that, but the most important thing is component will mount and component did mount. Okay? And after, when you want to remove this component, let's say you have Facebook, and you have like a bunch of like tabs. You are speaking with like two like friends or three, and you remove one of the tabs. Like in Facebook, the tab, the chat tab is a component. So before rendering the component, there is the constructor. Before even like you can see the component, there is a constructor. And after that, the component will mount. After that, the render, React will render. After that, there is the did mount. Let's say you are talking. After that, you are done. You want to close the component. So React needs to remove it from the DOM, not display it anymore. This is component will and mount. Like instead of mount, in mount. So React is moving this component. So you have like constructor, component will mount, the render, the component did mount, stuff happening, your logic, your code, the component is running. If you want to remove the component, or React decided to remove the component, or you are, I don't know, like switching to another tab or another page, React will call component will end mount. It's calling you instead of mounting, in mounting. Okay? Is it a little bit confusing? We will see that in action. So we have like here, I'm going to remove this.
I have a question.
Yes?
Why are we doing this?
Exactly. I'm going to now show you like the example. After that, we're going to like why they build this stuff. So we have the constructor. We have component. We will like put them like in order. So component will mount. So I'm going to put here alert. Build, like, or I don't know, like finish the component. More. Come on, help me. Okay, it doesn't really matter. So we have like alert here.
Just an I. Just an I after the end.
What?
It's just a spelling.
Yeah, I know it's spelling error. I don't know.
I and I.
What?
I
And
after
I-
N
at the beginning.
initializing, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true actually. In it, yeah. So this is like component will mount. And we have the render, and after that we have component did mount. Okay.
We should probably show that the will mount, the did mount functions.
These are just normal functions, but React component will call them instead of me because I'm overriding component. I'm overriding functions, or telling React. For example, React will not do anything. So React has an empty version of this, and an empty version of this, and maybe also an empty render. It's not an empty render, but it will not render anything. You need to provide it to the render. But when React will notice that you gave him like kind of this like custom implementation, we start calling them. So we have component did mount after.
Like, at least React component already has these methods implemented, but they don't
Empty.
do anything.
Yeah, exactly, just empty. Component. Okay, if we will do this, initializing the component will mount, component did mount. What do you mean? I didn't get clearly what you mean.
Like, why do you think that this application is to the end?
We get what? Yeah, we get the rendering after.
Yeah.
Because we are like putting kind of like technically it should be this one first, after that the render, after that this method, and not this, because like we didn't run this. There's no end mount because we didn't remove the component. It's still there. But like when you think about React, you should think this way. These are two first, after that the render, after that this will render, this after the render. But just because it's too fast, it will render this, and alert will block the rendering. That's the idea. Because React is asynchronous, we will talk about that after. React is not like when you say I want to render something. React is not like when blocking everything and rendering. React is like rendering bit by bit. Then, so it's not really. This is why the order is not really that important. But you can make sure that this component, this function, will render before this. So yeah. So this is it. Just a second. We can also put like console.log.
We should probably also have a console.log and
Yeah. So you can see here the order. Because now we are not blocking because the alert like will block efficient. So initializing component will mount, rendering component did mount. But there is no component will end mount because simply we didn't remove the component. The component is still there. We run this function if we want to remove the component or if the component will be removed. So React will notify us. So this is, for example, let's say you want to implement like an animation. When a component gets displayed, you want to like display it like in I don't know, like fade in or something. You need to implement like animation. And when the component like end mount, you want to also like do another animation, like going or something. You need this lifecycle component or lifecycle functions to implement the design. Because here you can put the animation for rendering the beginning animation or the mounting animation. And here you can put the animation for end mounting. So you can see like you have more control over the React component. You can control how the component is working, when the component will start. Can do that. Also, let's say you have a component and that's need, I don't know, that's need. For example, the chat, let's say Facebook, and you have like chat messages. And each like chat message has a lot of messages, a lot. You will not get all these messages once. Once you open the React chat, React thread, React will start fetching these messages. You can see that. When you go to the top, React will start doing that. How? Because React will knows that this component will render. So let's fetch the message. You got the idea a little bit? And also, when you in-mount the components, React will delete all the messages because you don't need them anymore. So if you want to do like custom work before and after the component, these life cycles like functions are really handy. You get a little bit of.
I'm confused now.
Yeah, you should be confused. that's the path. That's the path because.
Because I understood in the beginning. Sorry for what I understood. In the first example of when you go for unmount, I got to there. But now when you explain about the loss of messages, I get a little bit confused.
Yeah, for example, let's say you are building chat application.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of users and a lot of messages. Imagine if you want, for example, to render all the people that you are interacting with. You have a list, or let's say I don't know. Let's say Twitter. Yeah, let's say this. For example, here, Twitter also they are using React. So let's say here, this tweet, it has a lot of like comments or retweets and likes and stuff. But you have a number here. There's like 2K, 1 like and 2 likes, and also like 15 comments and stuff. But you don't know if you want to know like who liked this tweet, or who commented on that. You cannot get that because Twitter is fetching the necessary like amount of information. Because if you want to render all the people, there is like you can see like 1,200. It's like 1,200 people like this company. If you want to render all their names, there's a lot of information, a lot of bandwidth. So they will not fetch that. But once you open this component, so there is like new component rendering here. Before this component gets rendered, it will fetch all the comments. And when you click outside, it will remove the component, and you will call component with inmount, and you can do whatever you want. For example, you can like empty the. You got the idea a little bit?
Like for a normal post, how many components would be like if for each comment and like for comments there's a component, for likes there's a component.
For each component. Each component has its own life cycle. Let's say, for example, you want to render a comment here. But before rendering the comment, you need to check if the comment contains bad words. So each comment has its own like life cycle, and each comment is rendering its own life cycle and rendering like and checking. You got that? I'm just trying. We will like work with it, but I'm just trying to give you the big picture. I'm not the smallest like chunkers. We will like work with it and we will do examples.
It's very good example. And actually here one, okay, for each life cycle, so we choose the number of comments that will be shown in the first display.
The thing that you can get, you have a component. Before rendering the component, React gives you a way to do something, and after rendering the component, React will gives you another function to do something. You can do whatever you want. I don't know, like maybe I don't know. It's up to you, but
Like,
just
like animation of a loading screen.
exactly animation. For example, when you click on something before showing the render, you animate it, and after like in mounting or removing the thing, you also animate it. So you can like for fetching, for whatever. If you want to run something before or after the component, these and there is even more like lifecycle methods, so you can control precisely. For example, if the component get update and stuff, but these are kind of the basics that you need them. Okay, you got like the idea a little bit?
Yes.
So we call this life cycle. It's like the life cycle of a component because this is the life of a component. The component will be constructed, will mount, render, did mount. It will like live inside the screen. After that, it will end mount. This is like the life cycle of a component. Is it clear? So we have that. There is also one important thing, which is the state. For example, let's say we will render to-do list. Okay? And you need like a list of to-dos. Let's say, or I don't know. Yeah, let's say to-do list. To-dos. Let's say you have like hello or to do stuff. Just render it. So you want to render this to do. What you do here, you can change this to URL and do to-dos dot map. Before I need to do this. So because I want to write JavaScript and not just normal text. I don't need this. So you have here like the to do, and you return li with the text to do. Okay. Yes. React here is complaining about something, which is the key. Each tile is an array or iterator. So basically here we are rendering a list. And React, like why we are using React? Because React is really kind of, there's like performance optimization inside React. How? For example, each time you change something inside the component, React will re-render everything. That's kind of a bad way of doing stuff. So let's say like you have a lot of stuff. You have a lot of Facebook stuff. messages and something. If you change just one message, React will re-render everything, all the page. But that's bad because we will keep re-rendering everything every time like small thing change. But React kind of smart on figuring out what changed and what we should change. So why or how? So React keeps track of all the components and knows if a component changed or not. For example, here we have a list. Let's say you add another item to the list. Okay? You add like a third item to the list. React will redisplay the component. It will re-render the component, all the components. That's kind of a bad way because every time let's say we have like, for example, Facebook. If you have like 1,000 like friends or something, it's really a big list. Every time like something changed, you render like 1,000 lines. Or there is like a new friend online, you change like the status or you add it to the list. Just imagine like how much like computation like React has to do. But React has something called the virtual DOM, which is something in between the real browser DOM and your code, and React will keep track of what's changing and what's not. For example, here, if you add another item to the list, React will say, oh, this thing didn't change. And also, to-do stuff didn't change. But I need to add something. So React is kind of figuring out what's the difference between what I had before and what I need to render. So in case of Facebook, we have a lot of friends online. You need to add one friend, React will start comparing. Did it change? No. Did it change? Did it change? No, no, no. Oh, this changed. I need to add this friend. So React is smart. It's figuring out like this didn't change, so I don't need to render it. You got the idea a little bit? That's really like a complex topic, but
Like,
and here why it's
just like when there is a new post comes, it doesn't refresh whole.
generally React will refresh everything, but it will not do that. Technically, it will start.
Yeah.
React
You have changes.
exactly. React will assume that I will change everything. It's like the worst idea, changing everything. But while changing everything, React will start figure out that I don't need to change this. 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 Exactly. So React is willing to change everything, but it will start putting. I will not change this. I will. You got the idea. So this is like called fiber. Like the algorithm, because there's an algorithm behind React doing this, doing like the diff, because there's like a diff, figuring out the difference between what I need to render and what I had before. I had a lot of posts or a lot of friends, I need to render new thing, so I need to figure out what changed. So they call this like fiber. This is like talk about it and stuff. So it's like an algorithm, you really don't need to know it, but just like good that you heard about it. So let's say I want to add like an item before I wanted to, this warning here. So if you have like a list of posts or list of friends, the first friend, the second friend, and React will try to re-render all the friends. How can React recognize that the first friend, for example, let's say like you have your first friend is called Yunus, and in the new list you have the same Yunus. But how can React say that this Yunus is the same Yunus? These problems occur mainly with lists. If you have big lists, React will really try to optimize the lists and will try to not re-render all the lists. If you have like Netflix movies or like chat or posts, React will try to optimize each post and see like if the post changed or not. But how can, because like if I'm saying like React will check if the post changes or not, how we can say that, how we can compare the posts? We need to keep track of something. We need to, for example, assign an ID. This post ID is 5. And when I get the new like render list, I get the same post with 5. I compare the post 5 with the post 5, the post 7 with the post 7, the post 6. So there is like an ID assigned to each item inside the list, and React will try to compare items with the same ID. You got the idea? But it's not React's job to assign the IDs, because React doesn't know about your data, doesn't know about what you want to render. So it's up to you to assign an ID to each item. Make sense? How? Use a property called key. And you put inside the key, for example, let's say here, let's say hello 1, 2, okay, or 0 and 1. So now we have an array here. You remember the destructuring parameters? You remember that? I can destructure the parameters of an array. You remember that, I guess?
No.
No? Like this thing,
Object and index.
for example, let's say I have like 1 and 2. I can do A and B. Let's say array. You used like this before? Yes? Yes or no?
No.
So basically, it's just like React will replace this with the array, which is 1 and 2, and will assign the first parameter to this and the second parameter to this, or the second variable to this. So just like the structuring, you have an array and you start getting values from an array. So if you have like a third, if you put like C here, and you don't have like any third element here, C will be undefined. That's it. Okay? You got the idea? So here, we have one variable called to-do, and to-do is an array. Okay? So it contains 2 items. So I can do the structuring here and get both items. So the text and the ID. The text will be this one and the ID will be this one, the structuring. Clear? And I can put test here and ID here. And now React is not complaining about the key anymore. So if you add another item now, the third item, React will start comparing the first line. It's the same because I have like 0 here, I have 0 here, and this is the 0 element. What do you mean? Yeah, you need to have like unique items. So let's say this. So here React will start comparing 0 item with the 0 item that I have in the DOM. It's the same text, I will skip it. Second thing, I will skip it. Third thing, I don't have this ID. Let's add it to the DOM. So React is smart, like figuring out. So just remember, if React is complaining, for example, if we'll remove this, we'll start complaining about each child in an array or an iterator should have a unique key. So React can distinguish what's changing and not. Okay?
What if you have like a frequency like Facebook friends?
Exactly. Let's say like you have billions lists with millions elements. Yeah.
Do you have to divide before each?
Generally, we don't. For example, let's say like Facebook, or let's say like you did the Node.js before. You have like database, and each like row or each friend has an ID. So you use that ID generally, because it's like the unique like identifier for the resource. So you bring it in the front end and you put you. So for example, let's say like I have like here. Let's say I have like a post here. Let's say post like, or shot or something. So I can put like key equal post.id. And React will figure out that I don't need to change this. It's the same post and it's the same text and nothing changed. So I will skip this part. Clear? But when I add something here, let's say I want to add I need to refresh to see the changes. Because React doesn't know that this thing changed. It's like variable. It's like external variable. How I can keep track? Because I need to keep track. For example, let's say I want to implement a to-do list. Okay. So I will have an input. I will put this inside the div. I will have like input. and let's say here like placeholder. So I need every time I submit something here, I put enter. I want to add it to the list. So the first thing we have like input and on. I guess on key up. On key up. Yeah. I just need to. Yeah. So I need to like I didn't cover that, but it's time to do that. So for example, you have like input. Input is kind of dynamic element because you need to attach like stuff to it when change. For example, like a button, the on click and stuff. But yeah, let's add a button. It's even better. Button. Let's say add to do. Okay. Each time you click, just a second. What's happening? Yeah. Each time you click the add to do, you need to grab the text from here and insert it to the list. Okay. But so we need to attach like an event here, which is the on-click event. Used to do like get element by ID and stuff, but we discussed that separating JavaScript and HTML like it's kind of bad sometimes. Let's say you have like a lot of to-dos, a lot of search. You have search on Facebook, you have search on France, you have search. So having them like really separated, having them like together, attaching the event like together, it's kind of bad. So React has its own way. We are mixing here like JavaScript with HTML, and also we will mix the event handlers. So the only thing that you need to change, it's you put on click here, and you put a function name here. For example, let's or function reference. Like you say like on click handler. And every time you click this, the on-click handler function will fire. You can put on-click wherever you want. You can put it like here, function, on-click, console.log, clicked.
It doesn't need to be a method of the class the component that we have.
I don't think so. It's a function reference. We will see, like if I'm wrong or not. It's clicked because it's just like a function. It's just function reference. It's like JavaScript. So I have a click handler here, and I'm signing the click handler to the click event. It's like instead of adding add event listener, you just put it inside here. Is it clear? Is it really confusing, or is it just like? I guess it's simple.
But try to also understand like what's
Exactly. Try to understand what I'm doing, like how I'm coding, like why I'm doing this.
Because you're seeing this like one file which has reference to this component, but when it's getting compiled into the front end, right? Then you have this being transpiled into the JavaScript, right? And some of it is rendered upfront, and other like the on-click is working then as like conventional JavaScript.
Exactly.
Used to. It's pretty much like on-click that is attached in the HTML, and then the function you have outside is pretty much like what you would have declared in your JavaScript file.
Yep.
So if you see here like the button, there is no on-click or anything. So React is doing get element by ID and add event listener behind the scene. But you don't need to do that. React is handling that. Okay? So
It's a good thing.
what?
It's a good thing. There are no.
Yeah, there is nothing here. So React is like referencing this element and adding an event listener in JavaScript behind the scene. But you do it this way. Okay? So we have, but generally, like classes are meant to be kind of encapsulate the logic of something. So you put like stuff together. Why I'm putting this function outside of the class? Why I'm not putting it as a method inside the class?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why don't we export this function? Is it because like we can't clone it in the to-do list?
What do you mean? What do you mean by exporting? I'm not exporting this function.
Yeah, we're not.
We are not.
Like
I don't need to export this function because this function is really like meant to be used inside this component. So it's even better if I can put it like this.
So, yeah, like that exactly begs the question that you don't need to have that function as a method or even to export it, because nowhere else in your program are you going to use it. But of course, if you created another component which would inherit this component, then that function being outside would have been really annoying, because then you would have.
You cannot refer to it. You cannot refer to it. And also, like, it's the sense of using classes. Classes are meant to be like kind of encapsulate logic. So if you have like click handler to this button, and this button is really like reserved to this to-do list, it's better to put this on click handler. So if you want to move this class or something, you can just put this inside, and you can move it anywhere. Is it clear? But there is nothing special about putting the handler here, or putting this function here. Okay, it's just a function. But now I'm putting it inside the method, so it kind of makes sense because this is a class. Everything should be encapsulated inside the class. Clear?
And would this work, or you would need this now?
I need to do this dot, because before it was just a function. I can refer to it. But now I'm referring to this dot on click handler. I'm referring to this method. Clear? Okay.
But you also see this, that also creates the possibility that you can use this inside the on-click handler now as well, which you wouldn't have been able to do if the function was outside the class.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say you have here like, let's say you have this dot, I don't know, secret equal 1, 1, 2, 3. It's like secret like thing, password or something. And if each time you want to run this function, you want to just display the secret. So clicked, and this dot secret.
Or think of like using an API, for example.
So when you click the button, it will display the secret that you initialized here. I just need to put the key so I can like get rid of the.
So like a very reasonable use case is that instead of just adding it to the list which is there, like if you had to post it to your API, get a positive response, okay, this is part, and then render it.
Just a second, please stop. No, he was talking. Yeah, that's really like good point that he emphasized it, like having like secret information and stuff.
Like, instead of when you click on add to do, it just appears in the list. If you have to go
To the
post
server.
that data to the API and then get a response back, and for that you need the API key, then this would have made it like
Yeah. But now cannot read property secret of undefined. Who's gonna tell me why it's not running? It's really basic JavaScript. Why this dot secret? Let's break up like the error. The first thing, cannot read property secret of undefined. So this is undefined. Not really. It's not about. This is just remember thing. Variables are about scope. This is not about the scope. This is about the binding. The binding of this. You remember that? Did you cover binding? But you've heard about this word before, binding. So this is not about the scope. This is. Is this like a variable? This is not a variable. It's a keyword. It's like for. When you put for, so it's like a keyword. It's not a variable. This and super are not variables. Are kind of part of JavaScript syntax.
This one, it can't be inherited from the other because this back to function.
Yeah. So what I should do, so this will, because now this is not referring to the class. This here is not referring to the class. Super is for inheriting stuff. I'm not inheriting anything here. I just want to refer to this class.
To do this, don't secret.
No. I want it like dynamic. I want to use this. I don't want to use like, for example, if I will change the name here, I will lose the context, and I cannot like refer to do list because to do list is like static.
Also, if you would inherit it, then you would have also
exactly.
Yeah. You would have.
Yeah, exactly. And also like secret is not static. Secret is like property, so I need to access to this. So when you call this function, you remember when you add event listener,
Mhm.
this inside the event listener is what? It's what? This inside the event listener. It's the element that you clicked or the element that you type.
Yeah.
So this is referring to the element that you attach the event listener to it.
Okay.
Okay? No, I'm not talking about the parameter. I'm talking about the this.
Yeah.
The this inside the event listener is referring to the element. Okay?
Are you guys clear like what he just said, or if you have a doubt?
Yeah. Just please ask. Please ask.
And just
No, no,
before goes, yeah.
To me, it sounds like you're saying.
Let's say just second. I'm gonna just document.body dot I don't know, like let's say like I have an h1 or div n. So I already did get element by id and stuff. So and I did like add event listener. Let's say click, and they have like a function here. This is what here. It's this element. Okay? So if we will apply the same thing here, the this inside the onClick handler, it will be also this button. You got the idea? So in JavaScript, the this is not relative to the definition place. It's relative to the caller. Who is calling the function? So I have a function. Let's say I have like object.
That's where this keyword is tricky, because even though you're looking at it in the same place, but it doesn't bind to the same things. It binds to exactly the guy who's calling it at that point. So it could even change
Let's say say
the
name.
same interface.
Say name. It's a function. It's a function called. I can just use this, I can just use this. So before I have like a property console.log no, name is Yunus. Okay, and here I want to do like console.log okay, let's just what. Okay, it doesn't really matter.
What do you exactly?
The like template string, but we can just talk just a second. Let's say yeah.
It's,
My name is just a second. This dot name. Okay.
It's okay. Just pay
Yeah,
attention
exactly.
to what
It doesn't really matter. I can just like because I use different keyboard, so it doesn't really matter. So I have an object with name and say name. So if I do, so I already like declared the object. If I do object dot name, it's Yunus. Object dot say name, it's a function. I can call this function, and my name is Yunus. Okay. Let's say I will do this. I will do func2 var func2 equal object dot say name. So I'm putting this function inside this variable. So this variable is referring to the same function. It's just the function 2, but just like another reference. If I call object dot say name, it will render my name is Yunus. If I call func2, normally it's the same function because it was like assigned to the same value. It's my name is nothing. Nothing here is undefined. Why? Why? We know why?
Because you do not, what do you call it now? You do not put any argument inside it.
It's not really about I didn't call.
Because
Just a second. I didn't put any arguments here. Why it's working? Okay, I can clear. So this is the object. This is the object.
Yeah.
Okay? Super simple.
Yeah, because when you in this name you call the name based on this, and when other in the other places the name was undefined.
Okay, so
When you
it's
call
kind of, but still not really the truth. The truth is,
Okay.
please,
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
the truth is, this function,
But
Project.
isn't this also about scope? I mean, you save the function,
Yeah.
but not the name.
Projects.
what do you mean? What did you say, please?
You save the function, but not the name.
Can't remember.
So this.
What do you mean by the name?
I know the
Yeah.
The property name?
Yeah, exactly.
But the name is not attached to the function, it's attached to the object.
Yeah, exactly. But you're saving the function. You're not saving the object.
I'm not saving anything. The function, like the func2, it's object dot say name.
Yeah.
So they are pointing to the same thing. So I'm not changing the name or doing anything.
Ah, okay.
They are pointing to the same function because this is a reference and not a value.
Yeah.
Because I think because they were calling it differently. Because when you call,
Because-
you are not calling the name variable. You're just calling the function, right? If I understood it right.
Because the object is an array.
Yeah. Just a,
And this-
it's enough,
but
enough,
object-
enough. I need to explain. Enough. I need to- I just
Yes.
wanted you to refresh, but I can explain. So this here is referring to this object, and when you say this dot name, it will access this property.
Mhm.
Okay. Why? It's not because the function have been like put it here. No, because when you call the function, you do object dot say name. So you are calling the function. Can you just please? Because this is like the trigger part in React. Maybe you will spend like your whole life just writing these like binding functions. So it's really, please, just. So when you call this function, you are using this syntax object dot function. So the function here, this inside this function will be referring to this object. Okay.
Yes.
And when you call a function just like this, like the func2,
So there's no this to do.
there is no this. Generally, this is the window, but depend on your context if you are using usestricts or not. But there is no context. Okay.
It's like, think of it in the real world that, like there's like a teacher and a classroom. The teacher is telling to each one of the students, like, when I ask you, say your name, tell me your name. Right? That's like
It's really specific to you. Your name.
your name. So like your means to the person who's being asked, And this is the same. This is like basically inside the object it refers to me, like the properties. So even though you could tell that, when you ask your name, you say your name, but it doesn't mean that if I learned it from you, I will always say your name. No, I'm supposed to say my name
Exactly.
after I learned it from you. And so you can guess that what's happening in this case, for example, is that this func2 is attached to another object.
Yeah.
It does not have any.
Because you are not because so the crucial point that you need to get is like the functions like this is not this inside the function doesn't depend on where you define the function. It's how you call the function. How you call the function defined this, not where you define the function.
Can you get the say name without object?
There is no say name because I didn't declare. I need to do say name equals say name. I can do object dot say name like this, and when I run say name, it's the same thing and define. Func2 say name, everything is defined because when I call the function, I didn't put anything before. Okay, so let's say I want to call this function say name or func2, but still because as I told you, depending on how you call the function, the this will be bind. Let's say I want to change the binding of the this dynamically. So I want to call it like this. So I'm kind of stupid. I want to call it like this, and I want to this to refer to the object.
Just keep this thing open.
Yeah.
Right? So now when Eunice has written func2, you see that there's window written next to it.
Mhm.
And that's because it's showing you what func2 is a method of.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
for example, whenever func2 will execute, that this inside func2 will refer to the window object. That's exactly what it's
Yeah, exactly.
pointing to you right now. It's the child of the window object.
Because all the global variables are part of the window object.
So before it was the button. Say.
It was the object. We are in the context of object here.
In the code.
No, just forget about the code. We are here.
Yeah, but I get it now.
Okay, but how I can call the function? How I can because I told you it depends how you call the function. How I can call this function and change the context dynamically?
You want
There-
to change this stuff name.
Yeah, dynamically without like prefixing something here. There is like two methods, one called apply and one called tree, one called call and one called bind. Let's say call versus apply versus bind. It's really like famous debate in JavaScript. So I would put this article here and you need to read it. Okay? But I will explain, of course. So if you call like call and you give it the context that you want this function to get the this from, kind of. So you can put obj and it will say my name is Yunus. But if you just call it like this, it will say, so you can see the difference.
Yeah.
I can call, like this is a function call, but using another way, using another method of calling functions.
So basically, func2.call object is almost like object.func2 if
Exactly.
func2 was a method of object.
It's almost like this. It's almost like this.
Yeah.
This
Except
one.
there's nothing which is object.func2. It's just being temporarily attached and removed.
Exactly. This is like static. You cannot change it. This is dynamic. So let's say you have like an object2 called name. Let's say the name is Tala. So I want to call the same function, which is the func2, but instead of printing Yunus, I want to print Tala. You got there. I can do this, the same thing. Call and change the context on the fly dynamically, and say obj2 and do print my name is Tala. So you can see we call this binding. So we are binding the this inside the function dynamically. Okay, but I don't want to every time call this call and precisely like specify like object2 and object1. That's kind of error prone. It will create a lot of problems. Yeah.
You can see that you might think like this approach. My name is Yunus and my name is Tana. You have another approach of achieving the same result, right? And which is using classes and creating new instances of the class. So those would have name Yunus, name Tala, whatever. So what you have to remember is that mostly this made sense, or this was even developed in JavaScript before you had actually class keyword available.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
had object-related programming available. So this was pretty much the only way that you could
Attach,
methods on the fly, or more than that, offer a uniform interface. So you could use the same function on different objects.
Exactly.
But now you can try to minimize
Yeah.
what you do, but of course not everybody. That's why you need to learn it.
We still have like the old like gotchas of JavaScript. You cannot do. So okay, there is another method called bind, which is even better. Why? Because these functions call the function directly, but I want to have another function or another version of this function too, attach it to the object with the name Tala, but I don't want to call it. I just want to save it so I can pass it around. You got the idea? So
Just show
Well,
it first.
yeah, I have like this object 2, but I don't want to call the function. I just want to return another function, scope to the object or bind to the object with the name Tala. How I can do this? If I do this, it will just call the function, and func3 it will be undefined. Okay. So there is another method called bind, and you put object 2, and this will not call the function. It will create another function, and inside the function, inside that function, the context will be the object 2, and return it. Okay. So func3 now is done, even though I'm calling it without. You got the idea? So sometimes you just want to call the function, you just use call or apply. I send the article, you need to read the article. It's really important. And they ask about it in JavaScript interviews a lot.
Yeah, function inside of function.
It's not just about the apply versus the call versus the bind. It's really famous in JavaScript interviews. I've been interviewed like with this question, so it's really famous. You should really know it really well. So now I have like func3, inside func3, even though I'm calling it without call and without specifying anything here, but it's still with the object 2, which is the name Tala. Okay?
Again, what you have to remember is that func3 still has pretty much the same structure that you defined the original function with.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same function, but the this we are just playing with the this. We are just binding the this differently.
So you can still do a call on func3, even though func3 is bound.
I don't think you can do that because it's hard coded inside. Let's try. Yeah, this is interesting. Let's try. Let's say we want to call it with object.
Yeah. So that's unit.
No, it's still
sure.
not because it's hard coded inside. Because if you see the implementation of bind, they are like stoking the object 2 inside. So even if you call apply, they have the instance of object. Yeah, JavaScript, it's crazy. But you got the idea, a little bit? Okay, that's nice. So we can do the same thing here. We can have this function and bind it to this class using the bind method.
Okay, but I have a question.
Yeah.
What if we have like, we don't have like secret, we have secret, age, name.
Yeah.
So,
It's not about the property. For example, here it's not about the name.
yeah, it's about the whole thing.
It's about the this. For example, if Tala, for example, here has functions and a lot of stuff here, I will have access to this, which is this object, and I can refer to any property I want because the this is this object. And I say this dot name. If this object has more properties, I can say this dot, for example, age, this dot, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Clear? So we have this method, and I want to bind the this to this class or this instance of the class. Here I can have access. If I want to do that, I want to just do it once. And what's the method that you just called once? It's the constructor. So when constructing the class, I have these methods and I can bind them. So I can do this dot onClick handler. Okay? Called this dot onClick handler dot bind this. I'm sorry, it's not me. It's just JavaScript. Is it clear?
So this is like one option.
There's a lot of options.
Yeah.
I just want to start with the hardest one and the best one.
So
So what you're saying is
I want to-
we change this handler.
I can
class
say,
handler.
just a second. I can say just like test TT.
And we change this secret.
This dot onClick handler. That this here is undefined or it's window or it's any shit. We don't know. We bind it to the this. The this here is referring to what in the constructor. To this one. So grab this function and whatever the this inside this function, change it with the this inside this function. But I can just refer to the same name because I don't need this function. So I can just override it with the new version. So I have click handler, which is kind of with bugs and stuff inside it. I have this. I have like on click handler. It contains like the this inside it is not really binded. I bind it and I override it. I put it in the same variable.
Should we do this for each function?
For
Yeah.
yeah, you
If
mean
you have
like these
another
functions? If you have another function, yeah, you need to do this for all like other functions.
Yes, but this is not the best approach. This is just an example.
This is, I guess, the best approach. I'm opinionated about this. I guess this is the best approach. Well, it's really subjective. It's up to you. It's up to you. No. This is the best for me. There's other approaches, and they are better. Less code, less stuff. So it's just about you. This is like performance, like wise. This is better. There's another method. So now, if we will run this, clicked and the secret. Now it's working. Just one thing. I can do it a different way. How I can do? Instead of doing this on click handler, I can pass this dot on click handler dot bind this here. I can just bind it here because inside the render, this is referring to this class, and I can bind it to this, which is referring to this class, and it will return a new function, and the on click will be assigned to that function.
Could you say one more time?
Okay,
The first.
inside the function, inside the render, this is referring to this class. This is why we are saying this dot on click handler. But I want to bind this function to this. So I just say bind this, and it will return a new function
So
and be assigned.
basically, instead of permanently removing or like replacing the method with a bound method, you just only in this case
Exactly.
remove the create a new copy.
So if
of the
you
method which
let's
is
say let's say I have like another button here. Yeah, let's say I have like another button here, and I don't do this. I need to do the same thing for both of them because I'm not changing the method. I'm just returning new method here and assign it to the onClick. But if I use this approach, it's already bound. It's already bound, so I don't need to bind this. I just do it once in the constructor because the constructor is the first thing that we will fire in the function, and I can just reuse it here. But if I don't do this, I need to do it every time. Okay? Clear? So we can use the bind this. But there is also one thing. Like I told you, each time the data change, React will re-render the function, re-render the component. So render like function will be called multiple times. Each time you add to do, each time you click a button. Okay? So each time there is render, I'm creating a new function. Because I already have this function, but the bind is creating another function every time. So just remember how many times I'm creating functions. Each render creates a new function. So that will result in kind of memory like problems because I'm creating like, let's say in case of Facebook, lot of renders, each function or each component is creating another function. Just remember how many times I will create function. That's bad. This is why putting it inside here, it's better. Because in the constructor, you just do it once, and every time you render, you already like replace it the old function. Because the constructor is just called once and not multiple times. Clear? Clear or not?
No, I didn't.
Nice. This is really crucial. So,
Anyone comment it?
yeah, so we will do this.
This is not just React. Right?
This is JavaScript.
Yeah, we could have,
We have been doing that here. We have been doing that. This is JavaScript.
like
This is not React.
I could have introduced you guys in JavaScript 3 or Node with this thing. The reason I did is like you would have forgotten it anyway.
Yeah,
You would have
exactly.
used
And
it
this is the last
for
one, and we have more time. Yeah.
And now you there's no way to go past, so you need to be
Exactly.
but,
And you will use it. You will not just forget it. So this is like yeah.
But there's some free code camp exercises based on find, call, and apply, and I'll try to link it. But otherwise, just try and do that, because then you'll be quite clear about where exactly
And again,
how to
it's
use it.
about interviews also. They ask a lot of questions about the binding because it's like I don't remember how many times they asked me about binding, but just like it's just a big topic in JavaScript. They will ask you about binding. They will try to give you like code snippet, like JavaScript interviews question total.
What about the other two methods, like
So call you saw as well, right? And apply also lets you do a call, but also with parameters if you so want.
I don't know if someone wants to try this like interview question, just ping me and I can send it to you. I don't want to put it inside the channel. You will be kind what? So I don't want to do that. That's not good.
Can you send to me this?
So you're I don't remember. Mahab.
Yes. Just share it in the channel. But,
What?
okay.
I will not put it in the chat inside the channel. It will be bad. Okay, so
Class 3.
no, I will not put it inside the channel. It's bad because a lot of people will start like confused and stuff. Nah. Yeah. So okay, just read the article. That's your thing. Just read the article. So until now we are clear about the this. So now when I say this, it's referring to the okay. So back to our exercise, which is adding. But I guess it's we should get time for a break. So
Need a break.
yeah.
Yeah, because we